Good morning, all, and welcome to week 3. Wow, we're moving fast. So this is the halfway point. So we're going to be starting uh, crafting an essay a week. So if you notice on the due dates, essay 1 is due Friday, July 5th. So I know Thursday is the 4th, the holiday, 4th of July. So I changed the due date to Friday to give you that day to enjoy the fireworks and barbecue and all that good stuff. So this week we're doing a couple things, or actually, kind of three important things that I want to point out. We're moving forward to Unit 2 called Learning Power. So this unit examines problems or challenges that we're facing today in education. So you're going to be starting new readings today, or when you get the time. Diane Ravitch, John Taylor Gatto. I kind of just broke them up to days that I thought it would be a good reading load. Gene Annion's piece is a little denser, very academic, but interesting. And then Jonathan Kozol is kind of longer piece too, so I wanted to give you some more time for those. Then the reading response 2 is going to be due on Wednesday, so it's going to be one of those where oh, that's my cat. He wants to go outside. Where we do the discussion board and you post your answer to the question. And then this time, I've given you till Saturday to respond to one of your peers. Okay. And again, the first essay is due Friday, July 5th. I'll give you until like 9 p.m. as we usually do with our submissions. I've been getting some good questions from students about the essay. So again, any question you might have, you want to drop me an email or message. I've been responding quickly, and I'm checking my email Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. So keep those questions coming. I'm more than happy to give you some feedback. The other thing I wanted to mention was I've noticed some people not submitting assignments, especially last week for the reading writing notes. And these are just they're 10 points, but that starts to accumulate. So I really want to encourage those of you who are not submitting them to really think about taking the time. It's usually just for me to see your thinking and your process. It's not super formal. So really it's 10 points that aren't pretty easy to accumulate. So don't just take those for granted. Okay, so now I want to give you a little background on this unit. Okay, so kind of if you've noticed, the book that we're using highlights an issue or things that are happening in our society and our culture, and then kind of pokes at them and looks for things that are problematic or challenging. So this one does it with education, and I think this one's really interesting. It's something that we all have experience with, right? Currently, we're college students, but it kind of just asks some key questions, and there's a range of articles. One looking at standardized testing, one by John Taylor Gatto, where he actually argues that we shouldn't have compulsory education, meaning required education for K through 12 students. Then we have one Anyon where she looks at how economic background and class status in the U.S. determines the kind of assignments that students do. It's really interesting. So this is just context. So when you get time, and we're going to be doing our essay based on this, is going to be due next week. So we're kind of like working at stages. Essay 1's due this week, essay 2 is due next week, and then essay 3 is due the following week. And then we're going to end with our multimodal project. So this is just a kind of way to get your brainstorming going. Just think about the best and worst class you've had. What was it like? You could think about high school, you could think about college. I guess even go back to elementary school. What were things you liked about learning? What were things that you felt supported in by your teachers and by your institutions? So this is just something that I like to do when I'm writing, is just start by thinking about my own experiences, right? And for our class, this is really just a starting point. I'm not asking you to integrate your personal experiences into the essays, because we kind of are moving forward and working with academic texts and really jumping into those. So I want you to think about that, but it's always a good place to start. Like, what is your experience? What are your thoughts? Okay. And these are just facts that they have at the beginning of each chapter for our book. And I highlighted a few that struck me. This is kind of the nuts and bolts of it, the pragmatic sense of why are we going to school. So it's kind of a comparison of, the $25,000 a year versus $57,000 a year, based around, what your level of education is. So if you get a bachelor's degree, you have a better chance of making more money, right? Um, the other thing that Diane Ravitch is really concerned about is standardized testing. So I don't know if you had a lot of experience with standardized testing, but she finds it really problematic, and this highlights how much it costs per pupil. So they're spending a lot of money on this testing, and these are more from around 2014, I think. These stats are somewhere around that. So it's probably even more so now. And then the big specter hanging over college students is student loan debt. I know myself and many of my friends have quite substantial student loans. And it's kind of just, unless you have a lot of money going into college, that's kind of an unavoidable reality these days, right? And I'm always struck by what seems reasonable, right? Like $33,000 of debt doesn't seem astronomical anymore. It just kind of seems like the price tag for an education, right? But to me, that's problematic, right? It's hard to get out of college, find a job right away, and start paying back those loans. They give you 6 months of of time before you have to start paying these back, but you know they come at you quick. And then, in America, I think we've been told, and rightly so, that an education is super important, right? You hear politicians, you hear it in media talking about the importance of a college education. It's kind of part of the American dream, and it's super important, right? But that wasn't always the case. Um, I just highlighted a couple things I thought were interesting. Puritans, they thought education was just for spiritual purposes. So it's always changing. This isn't something that's static or unchanging. It's perceptions about things in our culture shift and evolve. So it seems like in the current moment, we still see how important college education is, but there are a lot of challenges with it in terms of funding, in terms of enrollment, in terms of student loan debt. So it's something that I think needs to be looked at, needs to be discussed and examined. So I want you to think about another little writing exercise that you can do. Does education empower us, right? Does it give us what we need to be successful, or does it maybe stifle personal growth? Does it kind of make us all cookie cutters, where we can't be individuals anymore? So wrestle with that a little bit. Think about it. This is going to help you as you read the different arguments and claims from the authors in this unit. As I said, one of the writers argues that we should abandon or get rid of, abolish compulsory education. He's not against learning, he's more against school. So he just makes a distinction between education and school. So I should have said compulsory schooling, because he is in favor of education, just more of an individualized version of it. Okay? So just think about it. This will be a good writing exercise, good brainstorming. The other thing I like to do often is look out for interesting TED Talks. And this guy is from England. He's looking at this question too. Do schools kill creativity? So he's very funny, very charming, and I think it's definitely worth a watch. He's very charismatic. So as you're doing it, though, think about points that he makes, claims that he makes that stand out to you. This will just give us further context to help us think about what's going on out there in the world and what people are saying about it, about the topic or issue of education. Okay, so have a great week. Again, let me know what's going on. If you have any questions, and I'm happy to answer all of your questions. And take your time and work on these essays. They're very important. Okay? Oh, one more thing before I go. If you go to modules, I added something that I want you to take a look at as you're finishing or working on your essays. Under Unit 1, I've put the rubric for our essay, okay? This will tell you the point breakdown. Sorry, here it should say 4 to 5 full pages, all right? Just goes over the points that I'm assigning to each part of it. So right away, if you do 4 full pages, you get 20 points, okay? And it just breaks it down. If you do MLA formatting, you get 10 points. If I had a good question about revision, so evidence of revision, proofreading, and editing, you don't have to necessarily track this or to show me exactly what you did, but I should see in your writing that you've spent some time thinking about it, you've worked with it, your organization's clear, it's not full of easy to avoid mistakes in the proofreading and editing. It should have